growing up, and for years I didn't believe it, but since then I've started to wonder if it is true. She said that my aunt and uncle were sleeping one night. My other uncle was in the same bed with them. They're poor, and somebody started pulling the covers down off the bed. And my aunt and uncle thought it was my other uncle fooling around and said, knock it off. And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. They sat up. All three of them saw a naked man crawling across the floor. Oh. And as he got a few feet away from the bed, he disappeared.
Oh.
And I thought that was pretty weird for all these years. And then my husband was reading a book about demons. And they actually had a name for some kind of demon that goes in people's room. They're naked and they pull the covers off the bed. Have you ever heard of anything like that?
No, and I'm not looking forward to hearing it. No, that sounds awful. Naked man crawling across your bed.
I know.
Naked man crawling across your bed.
I know. What's the point of that? But it's one of those things that has bothered me all these years. And then to have my husband read this book.
Besides, he pulls the covers off, and what's the one thing when you see something as awful as that, you want the covers, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, I have to tell you, I work the evening shift at a hospital, and I listen to the show on my way home. And there's been several times I've actually had to turn it off because it started scaring the heck out of me.
Well, I don't have that luxury, and it frequently scares the hell out of me. I appreciate your call.
Sure.
Thank you. Anybody else have the naked crawling guy pulling the covers down syndrome in their bedroom at night? Okay.
Hello. My name's John Doe. I'm a tech sergeant with the Air Force out of Big Spring, Texas.
Oh.
I don't know if you've heard about it. I currently work at a faculty formerly known as Hangar 18.
Oh.
And our job is basically, the craft was too big to move, so we are currently gardening and keeping it from everybody else.
You claim you're guarding an extraterrestrial craft?
Yes, I am. My CO won't let me, he allowed me to use our phone to call out.
So you're on a talk show and say, hey, we're guarding an extraterrestrial craft. Your CO approves that?
Unofficially, yes.
Well, your CO has lots of guts, is all I can say. All right, so you claim you're calling from what we know in history as Hangar 18.
That's permanent.
Okay. It's an opportunity I can't pass up. What can you tell me, and David, since he's listening, about the nature of the craft that you guard?
The craft is approximately 380 feet long and 287 feet wide. There were 17 bodies originally found on the craft, and of course every one of them was deceased. The craft crashed, and the government covered the death.
And you've been guarding it how long?
I have been in the Air Force for 17 years,
Yep.
and I have been on this project for approximately the last 5.5 years.
5.5 years. David, this is a very unusual opportunity. I mean, what could you say? I mean, here you are, my guest. What do you say to a calling like this?
Well, I try to be 100% open-minded. I'd ask you this, have you seen the craft do anything, or is it just mental? Is it activating any kind of a state? Has anyone done studies into its energy propulsion system?
As far as I can tell from the propulsion systems, I'm no expert, but from the scientists that I've seen studying it, if you will, they tell me that the propulsion system is dead, that apparently when it crashed it was on its last legs, if you will, and it was more or less, I guess when it entered our atmosphere, it was more or less on its last legs. From what I've heard, they said that it was basically a tritium and a hydrogen combination that powered it. I'm no scientist, but that's what I overheard them say.
Yeah, that would be quite radioactive. So is there any presence of radioactivity, or is there any?
Well, at my current duty station, I'm approximately probably 30 feet from the left rear of the craft, and just looking at it, I would say there's no radioactiveness left in it. We don't wear no protective suits or anything like that.
What does it look like?
It's kind of, I wouldn't say a triangle. It's kind of like a triangle, but every corner, the three exits are rounded. And there's three big bulges below it on each corner, and a bunch of little bulges in between each corner. And that's the best way I have to describe it.
How many people do you think have knowledge in regards to scientists and others that you've seen have knowledge of the existence of this craft, where it is?
I would say, like I said, I've been on this project for quite a while, and I would say on any given day, I'll probably see 200 or 300 people. And I would say that there's probably at least a few thousand that know of its existence that I have seen personally.
That you're making this call itself doesn't seem logical. In other words, it's obviously a very secret thing, and here you are, a guard, having talked to his commander, calling a national talk show. How did that come about?
We're pretty, I wouldn't say pretty big fans. We listen to the radio quite a lot here.
Well,
and a lot of times we listen to this show late at night. It's the only thing interested on. My CO, he agreed with me, and he said, hey, other people believe that these people know that there's something out here. This crashed a long time ago. From what I've heard, it crashed in 1958.
Are you and your CO willing to go any further?
We've talked about it, and I don't know about him, but I damn sure am.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Do you know how to get in touch with me?
I have your line that I called on tonight, and that's the only number I've got.
All right. I refer to email.
I know I don't.
You're not able to email?
I can, but I'm kind of afraid to.
Afraid to.
I was more or less told that if I wanted to call in, I'd call in. Who's going to believe me? Nobody else. My CO said, I'll let you make the call. And I have the means to email at my home, but I'm kind of afraid to.
Email a way that you would feel safe in communicating. Just do that much. Go to a library to a computer where, a public library or something like that, and fire me an email with a suggestion on how we can exchange information. How about that, all right?
That'll work.
All right.
I actually have 3 videotapes that I've made.
Oh.
And that I say 3. I have 1 that I have made, and I have 2 that were given to me with the specs for the craft, and I actually have, the one I have on tape actually has the craft with bodies.
Oh, Sergeant, we really need to talk. So, Art Bell at mindspring.com or Art Bell at AOL.com. That's my name. You'll not forget that yet. Either one of those 2 addresses, and we'll take it from there. All right?
Okay. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sergeant. Take care. You never know, David.
You never know.
You just never know.
You can't be negative, and you can't be too enthusiastic. But if you tell me the truth, then you might have something there.
Well, maybe it's a good moment to stop and ask you. I mean, we do have Roswell, David, and other crashes said to have occurred in that area. We have perhaps other crashes we've heard of in South Africa and other locations. Do you believe there is a crash retrieval program? Do you believe we have recovered alien craft?
Oh, I do. And let me tell you about Roswell, because this is a view, once you understand the concept of a craft turning into pure, ultraviolet wavelength energy or higher.
Yes.
Now let's look at Roswell. This is really interesting. Check this theory out. Okay, July 5th, 1945, or it was between the 5th and the 17th. The dates fluctuate. We detonated an atomic bomb near White Sands, New Mexico. Now, July 7th, 1947, 2 years later, same date of the year, on either side of the nuclear test site in New Mexico,
Yes,
you have the planes of San Augustine crash, and you have the crash at Roswell.
that's right.
Now, just imagine, visualize this for a moment, audience, that you have craft, just like in the case of Mexico, you have interdimensional craft that are vibrating in very high frequency wavelengths. Now, a nuclear bomb releases 200 million electron volts of energy with a lot of gamma radiation. Now, if you're pure wavelength craft, that gamma burst, tremendous gamma burst, is going to upset you. In other words, if you're not physical anymore, you're a pure wavelength. What you're vulnerable to is something similar to your frequency burst.
Sure.
And you get thrown out on either side of the explosion, one towards Roswell and the other towards the plains of St. Augustine. And 2 years later, we see the effects.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Art,
Yes.
calling from New Orleans.
Quite
often, the hunters are also the hunted.
Are you one of the hunted?
No, I am one of the hunters.
You're a vampire.
No, I hunt the vampires.
Oh, you're a vampire hunter.
That is correct. As says my father, my grandfather.
It's a family tradition.
It always is.
How does one hunt detect and then hunt a vampire? How?
They're telling signs of people at certain times that you can tell what they are. There are marks that are visible to only people who do hunt them. And as an answer to the question that the woman had about the diseases,
Yes.
vampires are immune to
Figures.
no disease known to man has ever affected them. And they don't live forever, but they live longer than a normal human.
Well, that seems to be what I'm getting tonight from just about everybody. And you are an actual, would you call yourself a professional vampire hunter?
I wouldn't say professional.
Career?
I have another job, but I also do that at night.
Isn't that dangerous work?
Extremely.
What would a vampire do that you have cornered? I mean, you get a vampire cornered, you've got some trouble to go down.
Well, if you can catch one by themselves, which is hard to do, for they usually do come in pairs, often male and females, to protect one another.
Sure.
Since I only go by myself, because only until I'm dead will my son take over for me.
So are you grooming your son now?
He's an athlete. It's born into each one of us. I'm about 6'4" and I weigh 245 pounds. I was an athlete.
Well, that helps.
I have, I would say, better than average instinct.
What is it about New Orleans and vampires?
That's a good question. But my parents came over here, as his parents did in the early 1800s, following him. So voodoo's been heavy here. I don't do anything as far as that goes, but you know, if the need arises, I guess I'd have to do that too and stop them.
How many vampires have you tracked down and
Eliminated?
yes?
Between 8 and 10, let's say.
Is the traditional method of elimination the one that is used? I refer, of course, to the stake.
Through the heart. No, it's not.
It's not.
You can eliminate them that way, but that is not the best to do. It's very hard to ask them to sit still while you attempt to do that.
So then what does a vampire hunter do?
Normally, you take the head, separate it from the body any way possible. Then bury them
Slow
by
down.
the feet.
I'm sorry?
You have to bury them by the head, by the feet.
What do you mean by the head, by the feet?
Well, when you put them back, well, we have to bury them after you eliminated them. It's a must, because if you don't, then they can regenerate.
Regenerate. So you bury the head separate from the body?
It has to be in another container down by the feet.
Oh, I see.
Stuff a mouthful of garlic,
Yes.
and that's the end of them.
And you've actually done this, I'm sorry, how many times?
I'm going to say between 8 and 10.
Phew. Do you view this as doing humanity a favor?
Yes. If you've seen the things I've seen, you'd say It was a great favorite to lots of unsuspecting people.
Well, let's have it straight. What have you seen?
I've seen more than one mutilation. The town right now is under grip of a mass murderer that you don't even get to hear about. 12 women so far in the last 2 years disappeared or supposedly bludgeoned to death with a hammer.
When you say the town, do you mean New Orleans?
Yes, I do.
And you think this person is a vampire?
I know it is a fact. I've seen the pictures of 3 victims. I knew of one personally. Taken right off the streets of New Orleans. But the police will not talk about it.
Well, of course not. Do vampires know that there are people like you out there?
Oh, yes. And they know that we're after them as much as they're after everyone else. As far as the person who called and said they got a girlfriend,
Yep.
I'm a little leery whether he's telling the truth or not.
What about the first guy?
Yeah, I believe him.
Really? The one who said that, cyclically every 27, 28 days he's got to feed.
Well, plus when he said he was down south in the swamp.
Yeah.
I believe I know who that is.
Oh, really? Have you been after this person?
Well, he's about 150 miles away from me, more or less. I will get eventually that way when I'm finished here. If I can find the person who's doing this.
Are you driven to do this? Is it something you're doing for humanity, for your own personal satisfaction? Why do you go after them?
Both. Protect my family, protect the people out there. It's the same as being a policeman.
A vampire cop.
That's what I do.
Listen, do you want to hold on the line? I might be able to round up a vampire here. It'd be interesting to hear you and a vampire interact. Okay, now we're paying for the call, so I'll put you on hold. All right, here we go again. Now, first, we go back to the vampire hunter. Okay, I have somebody claiming to be, of course, a vampire. You never know until you really get into the conversation, but are you there?
Yeah.
All right, you claim to be a vampire, right?
I do.
All right, Mr. Vampire Hunter, why don't you ask him some questions to try and determine if he's the real McCoy?
What is the greatest myth about vampires that is misconstrued by everyone for the last 300 or 400 years?
You need to be a little more specific than that.
What's the one thing besides blood a vampire needs?
What would be one thing a vampire needs?
Besides blood that a vampire needs to survive.
Don't let that buzzer sound now.
The only thing other than being out of the sunlight.
So, right off the bat, he's phony.
Bonnie?
Yeah.
All right.
Sunlight is not, vampires do not die in the sunlight.
Yeah, I blew them off. Do they do?
They can exist in the sunlight in a weakened state. That's super powerful people like you see in the movies that can throw a person 40 yards in the air, but they can kill you with one hand.
One hand.
Certainly, they can break your neck.
Well, that's
Your parts of your body are easily obtainable if people know what they're doing. They have above average strength.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Super strength.
I wouldn't say they're not like Superman, but they have above average strength. The
All
blood helps them.
All right, let's see if we got another one here. Do we have a vampire on the line?
Yes.
Yes, you're a vampire.
Yes.
All right, well, I have a vampire hunter here.
Hello, I've been listening.
Does that intimidate you?
Not one bit. I've killed one of those before.
You've killed a vampire hunter?
Yes.
Oh God. All right, well,
I'm not intimidated. Where did you do this? California, the east, west. In California, where I live. Here. 2 years ago. How many? 2 years ago. Possible. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I knew what he was in a minute, and I went home with him just to kill him. That's very unusual, since we would never go home with him. Well, I'm taking you way before that. This guy was a little foolish, I guess. And I was by myself. I always travel by myself at night. One of our greatest features of art is purity of heart. Because we have to be, because
what is the greatest weapon of a vampire?
He laughed at that.
Of course he
I
did.
wear a cross like that at night. I'm not intimidated by God.
Religion isn't a stopper.
I
You
know.
can't throw a cross up at a vampire.
No, but it doesn't bother me. Cross doesn't bother me
Only
at
the
all.
belief.
It is a fooler, though. I mean, when you see a cross, you wouldn't think vampire right away.
No, you wouldn't.
Like he said, he can spot one of us. We can spot them.
I guess he was an immature.
We're very young.
He was. But he was bigger than me, so I guess he didn't think I was a threat to him.
Most of us are very big.
Well, I was smaller than him, but I still beat him to death with my own hands.
You did?
Yes. And I got away with it.
How many vampires do you think he had dispatched before you met him?
Maybe I was the first one he tried.
And what if you were to encounter?
Be the least bit scared of him.
No?
No, I spent 6 years in the U.S. Army. I know how to defend myself.
Well, it sounds to me like you'd end up with your head at your feet.
I don't think so.
Most certainly, young man. We should arrange.
I'm a lot older than I look. I don't look my age. I'm a lot older than I look. Most people think I'm in my 20s. I'm older than that.
How old actually, physiologically are you?
60. But I look like I'm in my 20s.
You have the wisdom of a 60-year-old.
But I look like I'm only in my 20s.
Is this typical of a vampire?
Yes,
You think we might have the real thing here?
it's possible, but I wouldn't think he was 60. I think he'd be older.
Well, maybe I am older. I don't know. But
Like I said, they don't live forever, but they do live longer.
Do you feed, and how often do you need to feed?
well, only once a week, but I only killed one person. I was a vampire killer. I don't kill my people that I run into. I just take a little bit of their blood in the hole. Not enough to kill them.
He's getting more realistic all the time, Art.
Is he?
And I usually have sex with them when I'm doing it. That's not
He's
try
the
to
hard
fast.
they're the best.
What?
Their greatest ally is sex,
Yeah,
because they are very seductive.
I'm very good at sex, too. I mean, I'm very good at it. And in fact, I'm very good at kissing, obviously. That's one of the things that they like about me.
The mark of a vampire is being a good kisser, huh?
And I've actually drawn blood and I've kissed them in public at clubs and rave parties and stuff, and it still doesn't, most of them, doesn't bother them.
You know, he is starting to sound pretty real.
Got most of the points down there, Art.
You'd go after somebody like this person.
Yes, I would. Why? I never killed anyone except that one fool that wanted to kill me. And he had it coming. I figured somebody, you got a right to defend yourself. I figured it was self-defense.
I would take his head.
Put it at his feet.
Whatever.
That's all right. Many of your brethren said the same thing before they went down.
Well, most vampires aren't intimidated by stuff. I mean, violence doesn't scare me at all.
I
have normal life.
I have a question for either one or both of you. How does one become, or is it?
I remember how it happened to me.
All right, how?
I was a teenager, and I was in a bedroom one night sleeping. And next thing I woke up, and there's this guy on top of me with blood dripping on his mouth, saying he liked warm blood. So I was probably attacked by one of these things.
How many times were you dead?
I don't remember it happening one night, but I woke up when it was occurring. It could have happened before and after that night, too. I just remember it once. And I woke up while it was occurring.
And you were willing to become a vampire.
I was asleep when it was happening. I don't remember anything of it except I was asleep.
Well, when did you know what you were? Let's try that one.
Well, I figured out a little while later when I started liking to fight people and I started craving blood. No, that was it. That night, I got very sharp teeth. And
We're starting to swing away here, Art.
I'm a night person. I don't like being out during in the daylight. I don't really care for daylight.
Let's see, Art's a nice person. He's a vampire. Art likes to be up at night, so there's a lot of other people who listen.
Yeah, but most of them don't like to fight people and draw blood and drink it, though, and I do.
All right.
He was doing good there for a second, Art.
All right.
Starting to slide at the end.
All right. All right. Well, I thank you both for the call. Have a good morning, the both of you. Or as good as it gets for people who either hunt, I guess both hunt, don't they? Good morning. First time caller line. Actually, vampire line. You're on the air. Are you a vampire? You're going to have to speak up louder into your phone.
Yes, sir, I am.
You are.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been such?
About 5 years now.
And how did you become a vampire?
It was an exchange of blood.
It usually is. And physiologically, how old are you?
I'm physiologically 30 years old.
And how many years do you in fact think you've been here?
30 years, sir.
30, oh, so in other words, you are a vampire, but you have not yet begun to
I am no different from
anybody
anyone
else.
else at this time.
Did you willingly become a vampire?
Yes, sir.
Have you willingly made others vampires? No?
No, never.
Have you taken blood unwillingly? In other words, have you searched out victims?
Never unwillingly.
So there's enough willing victims out there.
Usually, yes.
You realize how this freaks people out, right?
Yes, I can see that. And you know, I do listen to you, and rather I'm surprised that you would condone genocide.
As in the vampire hunter?
Yes,
Well, I can see how you would consider it genocide, certainly.
I'm deeply disturbed, and I feel that this person has probably killed more wannabe, delusional humans than actual vampires.
If that person were to kill you, would he be killing a delusional person or a real vampire?
He would be killing a real vampire if he were to kill me. But again, I don't think he would be capable of it.
Well, I've got to say this to you, and I understand that you realize from your you think from your perspective it is genocide, but you've got to realize that to those of us who are not one of you, we would consider what he does a service to humanity.
I pose this to you as a rational man, for the Jews who were killed, those of them who were not Jews doing the killing. Did they think they were doing a service to mankind? Obviously, were they? No, they were not. Just with every race, there are evil and there are good of that race.
But a vampire is, by definition, more than just a different racial or religious.
Religion has nothing to do with that.
Well, I was looking at your earlier example,
Yes.
right? So what I'm trying to suggest to you is that the analogy to the Holocaust is not a reasonable one in the sense that they were innocent people in every way. You as a vampire.
There are innocent vampires who are vampires not of choice.
So you consider yourself then a victim.
I wouldn't call myself a victim. Because I wouldn't consider myself someone who deserves to die at someone else's hands. I've never taken a life.
Well, it's the feet, actually. Now, yes. So, how many vampires do you think? I mean, it shocks me that I open a vampire line and I get so many vampires. Now, that indicates to me that the good doctor, the minister, who was on earlier, talking about vampirism, mainly in Hollywood, and then psychic vampirism, may be wrong, and there really are a lot of vampires out there. Are there a lot of vampires?
There are a few, but
Well, how could I possibly run into so many tonight?
again, like I said earlier, most of them are delusional wannabes. Most of them went and bought the fangs, went and did everything they could to look and sound and be a vampire. Most people.
All right, tell me something then, and everybody else, that separates you from the wannabes that you've heard.
Real vampires don't need to be seen or heard. We don't need the recognition. We're very kept to ourselves. We're not. Those vampires I know that are real vampires, that is, I'm not saying that I know a lot of them. The ones I know, even themselves, they're not the showy, flamboyant vampire that you would think. No bangs, sharp fingernails, things in that matter. We are more subdued people than people would think.
Not flashy.
Very, very few flashy people I've ever met. Can't put your real down on it.
Most of those, I'm sure, Ed, their heads at their feet.
And probably not deserving of it.
All right. Well, I appreciate the call. Thank you. I mean, what do you think about this? People claim to be vampires. Some of them sound unnervingly convincing. Modern America, 1997, coming up on the millennium. Vampires. Phew. First time caller line, not first time caller line, anomalous line, I guess we'll call it, possessed or timeline, whatever, you're on the air.
Hello. This is Elvis Presley.
This is Elvis Presley?
That's right. This is Elvis Presley.
The Elvis Presley?
Yeah, I don't want you to get the wrong idea because a lot of people say I'm still alive. I'm not alive. Okay, I'm dead.
You are dead. Well, a lot of us thought you were dead.
Right. Well,
not all of us.
there's a lot of crazies out here that say they're seeing me in liquor stores and Kentucky Fried Chickens. You know.
Well, are they? I mean, don't you have to eat, even if you're, what are you, in somebody's body?
Yeah, basically, I've been just hanging out on the sidelines, going back to some of my old haunts, and I was actually in Vegas. I was in Vegas last August, and I was checking out this kid who was working at one of the.
There are LVI in Vegas, so you could sort of go. I wouldn't say unnoticed, but certainly nobody would raise their eyebrows too high there in Vegas.
Right. Well,
Seeing
basically, I found this kid that he must be like 24, 25 years old, and he was different than some of the other impersonators I've seen. He had a kind of special magic about him, and he also seemed like he was only alive when he was on stage, you know. And I could identify with that,
and that's why you took his body.
Right. I approached him in the bar after the end of his performance, and I just, I asked him point blank, "Do you know who I am?"
Did he?
That was it, man. He didn't have time to answer.
In other words, you have him at that point.
I was inside.
Inside, all right.
All I have to do is address him.
As a matter of curiosity, since you did die, why are you wanting to be back here in physical form?
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Frankly, I'd just like to say, first of all, I really never finished with this world, and so I've always been kind of.
You did go quickly, but I mean, it was really, according to everything we know, your own hand that did it. Your own hand to mouth drugs.
Well, there were a lot of lies about
A lot of food.
There were a lot of lies about me too, but I just want to say,
This is such an unusual opportunity. I don't get Elvis often. I have to ask you a special question.
Yes, sir. With this,
I hope you won't mind. It's about your music.
okay.
You've done a lot of things that I like, but there's one that you've done that I would like to understand. Is there anything you can tell me about that record that will give me some depth of understanding about why you sang it?
Well, I can tell something here, man. Sometimes there's some deep meanings I put in those songs.
I recognize.
Like in the ghetto, I was really thinking about, a condition that I think is only worsened since I passed. With that particular song, I actually, it was written by someone else, And so, I gotta say, man, I didn't look too much at the lyrics. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't know. I've been trying. That's why I've been asking. I mean, if you got Elvis, you ask, right? And surely you must know what this. I mean, some of the meaning of this song, you must know.
Well, the green eyes actually were about a particular person.
Marie.
Take a guess, man.
Well, I guess I could have hoped for more information, Elvis, but
I'll tell you what. I'll give you some information.
All right.
I started performing again when I met this kid. Because this kid, like I said, he had the look, and he had the, in a way about him. It was also pretty easy to take over the vocal cords, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand. There's the obvious resemblance. Yeah.
I'm still performing. I'm performing now again, man, under the name Extreme Elvis, man. Extreme Elvis. I'm in San Francisco. I've been doing some of the hotels. I've been doing some of the clubs out here.
What about the ethical aspect of taking over this poor young fellow?
Well, I think some people are weak, Like, for instance, the people that didn't make it. You know, I was the one who made it, man. I was the king of rock and roll. You know what I'm saying?
That's why they called you the king. All
So
right?
I think some people are weak.
King meets body, takes body.
And yeah, that's right. I mean, I think this kid was weak, and I took him over.
All right, well, I'm straight on that, and I appreciate your call. It's not every day that you get to talk to Ashley Elvis. But I don't know about the body thing. Doesn't seem right. Not unless he's in there enjoying it. There's What's Western Rockies? You're on the air. Hello.
Yes, sir. Well, this is Grace from Eugene, Oregon.
Yes.
I'd like to let you know that I've been affected by an alien.
Abducted by an alien.
Yes. And how I know that was I've been having these really bad horrendous headaches.
Yes.
And
Well, but a lot of people have headaches, right? That doesn't mean they've been created by aliens.
True, but I had an MRI done, and there's 2 growths in my brain.
2 growths in your brain.
Yes, they're like what they call bright spots. And there's no explanation why they should be there. But they just are.
You have 2 bright spots, and after they gave you an MRI, they said they put it up on the screen, and they said, "Look at these 2 bright spots in your brain.
Right.
They shouldn't be there. They should." Is that what they said? They should be there, but they are.
Yes.
And what did they say?
Should not be there.
And what did they say they thought they were?
They don't know. And before I went in to have the MRI done, I was on a ship. It had a great big bright light on it, you know, like the
Whoa. You were taken aboard a spacecraft.
Yes.
This wasn't a, wait a minute. It wasn't a dream.
No.
How do you know you were on board a spacecraft? Might seem like a silly question, but did you just suddenly be there, or what?
I'm not really sure. All I know is that there was some rays. I guess it's what you call them, ones with the big black eyes, 2 notches in the face for the nose, a very small mouth, and
what were you doing? Were you walking down the street? Were you asleep in bed? When this happened?
I was just laying down in bed, yeah.
Laying down in bed. And so you're sure now that you didn't fall asleep and this was some sort of dream. This was real.
I'm positive because I was in a lot of pain.
Well, I understand you may have a medical malady, but whether or not it's as a result of implants put on board your head on board this ship, that's another question. Do you have any evidence that this is what happened to you?
The only thing I have as evidence is an MRI where the bright spots are in the brain.
Normally somebody would do an MRI on somebody and find bright spots on the brain would be tempted to take you to a neurosurgeon. And
that's who did it. It was the neurosurgeon that did this. Yes.
So, what do you think's going on? I mean, only you know what's in your head. Are you being told to do things? Is there some communication going on? Are you having some effect from whatever it is that's in your brain?
Just a lot of pain.
A lot of pain.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound too good.
No, it's not. It's not fun.
All right, so the next time somebody out there wishes for an abduction, they should remember this lady's story. A lot of people have called up saying, "Oh, I wish I'd be abducted. I wish they'd let them take me."